The last invitation. The email arrived at midnight, its subject line a single word: invitation. My heart raced as I clicked it open, the screen casting a pale glow across my darkened room. The message was brief, written in an ornate font that felt oddly out of place for an email. You are cordially invited to the final party. Tonight, 11 p.m. The old warehouse on Route 17, just past the rusted gate. A van will be waiting. Come alone. Tell no one. My fingers trembled as I read it again. I'd been obsessed with the Final Party podcast for months, its twisted tales of decadent basements and gruesome games hooking me from the first episode. The host's voice, smooth, British, dripping with menace, had become a nightly ritual, whispering horrors through my earbuds. I'd scoured fan forums, devoured every episode, and even written a few unhinged fanfics about my own final party might be like. But this was real, an actual invitation. I should have been thrilled. I'd dreamed of this, hadn't I? But something about the email felt wrong. The wax seal graphic at the bottom, the lack of a sender's name, the instruction to come alone. It gnawed at me. Still, the allure was too strong. I grabbed my jacket, slipped on my boots, and headed out into the cold October night. The warehouse loomed on the horizon, a skeletal husk of rusted metal and broken windows. A single street lamp flickered, casting jagged shadows across the gravel lot. A black van idled near the gate, its tinted windows reflecting nothing but darkness. As I approached, the side door slid open with a mechanical hiss. A man in a black hoodie leaned out, his face obscured. "You're here for the party?" His voice was flat, emotionless. I nodded, my throat too dry to speak. He gestured for me to climb in. Inside, 4 others sat in silence. A lanky guy with a nervous tic, a woman with dyed purple hair, a stocky man in a leather jacket, and a girl who couldn't have been older than 16, clutching her phone like a lifeline. No one spoke. The van lurched forward, tires crunching over gravel as we sped into the night. My phone had no signal, and the others' screens were dark too. I tried to make small talk, but the girl just stared at her phone, and the lanky guy muttered something about not signing up for this. The van finally stopped at a crumbling mansion, its windows boarded up, ivy strangling the walls. A faint bass line pulsed from within, vibrating through the ground. "Out," the driver said, sliding the door open. We stepped into the chilly air, the mansion's silhouette looming like a predator. The driver pointed to a rusted cellar door at the base of the building. "Down there." The cellar stairs creaked under our weight, descending into a cavernous room bathed in dim red light. The air was thick with the scent of damp stone and something metallic, like old pennies. A long table stood in the center, laden with bottles of wine, platters of food, and a massive crystal chandelier overhead that flickered like it was alive. Music thumped from invisible speakers, a low, hypnotic beat that made my skin crawl. The others hesitated, but I stepped forward, my curiosity outweighing my fear. This was the final party. I was here. "Welcome, my dear guests," a voice purred, smooth and familiar, the host. He stepped from the shadows, tall and impeccably dressed in a black suit, his face obscured by a featureless silver mask. His voice was unmistakable, that sultry menace I'd heard countless times through my earbuds. But hearing it in person sent a shiver down my spine. "You've been chosen for something extraordinary." The purple-haired woman laughed nervously. "This is like a game, right? Like an escape room?" "Oh, it's a game, Sarah, but the stakes are far higher than you imagine." I froze. Sarah. How did he know her name? My eyes darted to the others, their faces pale, eyes wide. The host paced slowly, his polished shoes clicking against the stone floor. Each of you was invited because you're special. You've listened to my stories, dreamed of my parties, and now you're here, but only one of you will leave. The stocky man scoffed. This is some Saw ripoff? I'm out. He turned toward the stairs, but the cellar door slammed shut with a deafening clang. He pounded on it, cursing, but it didn't budge. There's no leaving until the game is played, the host said, his voice calm but laced with steel. Tonight's theme is sacrifice. A low groan echoed through the room, and the chandelier flickered, casting grotesque shadows on the walls. The host gestured to the table, where a single object now sat, a gleaming silver knife, its blade etched with strange symbols. One of you must die by midnight. You will choose who. If you refuse, the consequences will be unpleasant. The lanky guy laughed, a high panicked sound. This is bullshit. It's just a show, right? You're actors. Oh, Daniel, I assure you this is no act. He snapped his fingers, and the music stopped. The silence was suffocating. Then, from the shadows, a figure stumbled forward. A man, his clothes torn, his face bruised and bloodied. He collapsed at the host's feet, gasping. "This is what happens when you refuse to play," the host said, nudging the man with his shoe. The man whimpered, his hands clawing at the floor. I recognized his voice from an episode, the one where they drowned someone in acid. My stomach churned. This wasn't a podcast. This was real. Sarah screamed, backing away. The teenage girl dropped her phone, its screen cracking on the stone. The stocky man grabbed the knife, brandishing it. "Stay back, all of you." "Choose," the host said, his voice cold. The room erupted into chaos. Daniel lunged for the knife, wresting it from the stocky man's grip. Sarah sobbed, pleading for us to work together. The teenage girl just stood there, trembling, her eyes fixed on the host. I wanted to run, to scream, but my legs felt like lead. The host watched us, his mask unreadable, his presence suffocating. "We can't do this," I shouted, my voice shaking. The host turned to me, and though I couldn't see his eyes, I felt them boring into me. "Insane, Emily. You wanted this. You wrote about it, didn't you? Your perfect final party." He leaned closer, his voice a whisper. "You begged to be split from tits to toes." My blood ran cold. He'd read my fanfic. How? I hadn't shared it with anyone, not even online. It was just a draft on my laptop. My knees buckled, and I grabbed the table for support. The clock on the wall ticked louder, each second a hammer against my skull. Midnight was approaching. Daniel was screaming at the stocky man, accusing him of being a coward. Sarah was trying to pry the knife from Daniel's hands, but he shoved her back, her head cracking against the table. Blood trickled down her temple. "Stop it!" I yelled, but no one listened. The teenage girl suddenly bolted to the stairs, pounding on the door, sobbing. The host watched, unmoving, as if savoring the chaos. Then the chandelier went out. The darkness was absolute, swallowing every sound except our panicked breathing. Something moved in the shadows, a wet shuffling sound, like bare feet on damp stone. A scream cut through the air, raw and guttural. The lights flickered back on, and the teenage girl was gone. A trail of blood led to the far wall, where a hidden door now stood ajar. "She made her choice," the host said, his voice dripping with amusement. "Will you?" Bello stubbed the knife, his hands shaking. "I'm not doing this. I'm not killing anyone." The host sighed, almost disappointed. "Very well." He snapped his fingers again.
and the floor beneath him gave way. He plummeted with a scream, his voice echoing until it ended in a sickening crunch. The trapdoor slammed shut, leaving only silence. 3 of us remained. Sarah was sobbing, clutching her bleeding head. The stocky man stared at the knife, his face pale. I felt like I was drowning, my mind racing for a way out. "We can fight him," I whispered. "We can take him down." The stocky man shook his head. "You heard him. We choose, or we all die." Sarah's eyes met mine, wide with terror. "I don't want to die. Emily, please." The host stepped forward, his mask glinting. "The clock is ticking. Choose." The stocky man lunged for the knife, but I was faster. I grabbed it, my hands trembling, and pointed it at him.
"Him. Stay back!" My voice cracked, tears streaming down my face. I didn't want to hurt anyone, but the fear was overwhelming, primal. Sarah screamed, "Don't do it, Emily! We can find another way!" But there was no other way. The host's laughter filled the room, low and cruel. The clock struck midnight, and the walls began to close in, the stone grinding against itself. The air grew thick, suffocating. I looked at Sarah, then at the stocky man, the knife heavy in my hand. "I'm sorry," I whispered, and swung. The podcast dropped the next week. I listened to it alone, curled up in my bed. The memory of that night burned into my mind. The host's voice was as smooth as ever, narrating our screams, our betrayal. He called me by name, praised my resolute. I vomited when I heard the sound effects, the wet slice of the knife, the thud of a body hitting the floor. The invitation had been real, the party had been real, and now I was the only one left. The forums were buzzing, fans raving about the new episode and its incredible realism. They had no idea. I tried to find the others, to see if anyone else had survived a final party, but every lead was a dead end. The actors never reappeared. The host never revealed himself. Last night, another email arrived, another invitation. Same time, same place. My hands shook as I deleted it, but deep down I knew it wouldn't matter. The host's voice echoed in my head, promising another party, another game. And this time, he said, I'd be the guest of honor.